the International Relations Minister, Ronald Lamola, addressing the G20 Sherpas meeting. In fact, it's worth a quick dip in. Let's listen in.
In the Northwest, the Pilansberg National Game Reserve, National Park, and many other beautiful parts of our country, where many of your countrymen have been to attend various G20 meetings. We are glad that you continue to participate, to make inputs, to make the world a better place in our beautiful country. I've heard the DG that you had also a very beautiful and nice dinner last evening. I can boast, and I know that you have enjoyed it, that our wine is one of the best. We meet today at a time of profound geo-economic tensions that continues to weigh on the global economy. Across the world, we have seen various institutions, such as the World Bank and the IMF, amongst others, revising down the global growth prospect in the wake of the geo-economic tensions. The African economies, and indeed here at home, will also face various headwinds. These moments make the current engagements even more important in revitalizing the world economies and indeed exploring opportunities for Africa and South Africa. In the very province we are today, the Northwest, lies beneath the soil many opportunities and resources. The province is not just rich in minerals, it is the heartbeat of the global energy and the tech revolution. Beneath this soil lies the world platinum, gold, uranium, the copper for wires, the vanadium for batteries, the fluorspar for medical tech. These are not just rocks, they are the DNA of electric vehicles, renewable grids, and life-saving isotopes. They are the heart of the global commerce. Yet there is a stark paradox. While the world runs our resources, the value does not stay here. The minerals leave raw, the batteries, the solar panels, the cancer treatments are made elsewhere. The export wealth, but imported back, is transformed value. This is a phenomenon we see across the African continent, extraction of raw minerals and materials. In an award-winning book, Cobalt Red Sedita, Kara argues that it's the blood of the Congo that powers our lives. This is why South Africa's G20 presidency puts forward a critical minerals framework that will rewrite this anomaly and revitalize our industrial strategies and manufacturing capabilities. Enables us to be able to export value-added products to the world. Today's system is unsustainable. A mineral-rich nations, our path of development must be on equal terms, and importantly, empower the citizens of our countries through job opportunities and economic development. The global North and the global South must work together to ensure there is beneficiation at source, that everyone is able to produce at source and be able to participate in the global mainstream economic trajectory. Ladies and gentlemen, our mission is clear. We must turn these buried treasures into local jobs, factories, and sovereignty. Equally, the value we create will still empower the world as we will seek to continuously export and strengthen global commerce. This is not just economics, it's solidarity, equality, and sustainability, the theme of our presidency. And without doubt, the G20 is a platform that can ensure the era of extraction without equity ends, and will begin an era of true partnership and collaboration for the good of sustainable development across countries, not just a few, that will be mutually beneficial for all of us. This important meeting, which comes at the midpoint of South Africa's historic G20 presidency, but which is also coincide with unprecedented global turmoil, both geopolitical and geo-economical. Aristotle observed, and his observation is proving itself once again to be correct, and I quote, "It is more difficult to organize a peace than to win a war. But the fruits of victory will be lost if the peace is not organized." Close quote. No peace will organize itself in any part of the world. It needs the global community to stand together in solidarity to find peaceful resolutions to disputes across the globe. According to the OECD States of Fragility 2025 Assessment Report, the number of armed conflict is at its highest level since Cold War, with state-based conflicts including proxy wars, civil wars, coups, rankings as the top global risk for 2025. State rivals are fueling fragmentation with economic decoupling and proxy conflicts undermining global stability. These international competition dynamics are exacerbating fragility in vulnerable regions whilst also weakening multilateral institutions that underpin the rules-based international order that is anchored on a rule of law. These are not just words here on our continent. We have seen humanitarian crisis that is on a scale that the world has never seen before, with the conflict in Sudan. I venture to say this is no longer a crisis, but a moral emergency that demands our collective consciousness and humanity. It is a catastrophe of unimaginable proportion. Over 30 million people require life-saving aid in Sudan, and more than 12 million have been displaced in Africa's gravest displacement crisis in modern history. This needs our collective efforts as members of the G20 and those who believe in multilateralism in the global system, with the UN at its pinnacle. State sovereignty and the right to development and security are fundamental to a functioning international order. Now we see violation of these fundamental principles of territorial sovereignty and political independence enshrined in Article 2.4 of the UN Charter, as some stretch self-defense into speculation. Following last week's US military strikes in the Iran, United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres said, and I quote, "At this perilous hour, it is critical to avoid a spiral of chaos." We understood the United Nations promise 8 years ago, collective security over cohesion, the extinguishing of the law of the jungle. Alas, we find ourselves in an evolving global disorder that brings with it many perils for the weak and for the vulnerable. As South Africa, we have adopted an anti-war stance. This is because we know too well that war offers no victors, only victims. Double standards in diplomacy and the paralysis at the UN Security Council have crippled conflict resolution, mediation, and peace efforts. These systematic challenges must be addressed to reclaim a global rationality that builds on stability, peace, certainty, and sustainability. And all of us in this room and all members of the global community have got the responsibility to strengthen the hands of the UN Security Council to be able to play its meaningful role of bringing peace to the people of the world. The world needs more diplomacy and peace with the UN at its pinnacle. Ladies and gentlemen, economic and technological pressures are immense and place further strain on a fatigued international system. The ever-worrying debt crisis, supply chain disruptions, and the geo-economic confrontation, including tariffs, only intensify instability and cause immeasurable pain, particularly on countries of the Global South and Africa in particular. The current and troubling global economic environment signify a major trend towards economic nationalism. Some states are distancing themselves from the globalized trade framework that has prevailed for many decades and underpinned this rules-based system of non-discrimination and shared values. We must avoid this path, as we all know too well that trade is an engine for economic development and improvement in standards of living across nations. Your Excellencies, the digital economy undoubtedly continues to develop at a rapid pace, presenting both unprecedented opportunities and deepening inequalities across the globe. We must act with purpose to support digital transformation, equitable access to data and infrastructure, and support innovation with a human-centric focus, and also bringing Africa into this space. It being a very youthful continent, gives an opportunity to the people of the world to provide innovation and the energy that is needed to power these new technologies the world is observing. The said cyber and hybrid warfare coupled with AI-driven threats create asymmetric risks accelerating conflict escalation, and reducing diplomatic windows of opportunities to act. The OECD report that I quoted earlier further identifies and unpacks other very troubling trends. It estimates that 2 billion people live in fragile contexts, accounting for 72% of the world's extreme poor. They face climate-driven disasters, such as adverse and dangerous natural phenomena, including severe heat waves, devastating floods, hurricanes, droughts, heat waves, and wildfires, which exacerbate human insecurity. Food security is of a particular concern to us all, as its causes are both climate-driven and geopolitically imposed. These systematic challenges additionally extend to other key of human security concerns, which are amplified by transitional threats, including the forced migration crisis, pandemics, and resource scarcity. Sadly, sustainable development remains an aspirational goal, not only for the G20, but the world at large. We are now only 5 years from the Agenda 2030 deadline, yet only 17% of the Sustainable Development Goals are on track, while 35% are stagnating or regressing. Honorable delegates, it is more than apparent that in the absence of sustained and continuous multilateral cooperation, coupled with much needed reform to the existing global governance architecture, these systematic challenges and highly probable risks will continue to undermine the rules-based international system anchored on international law, entrenching inequality, unraveling global solidarity, and creating the potential for irreversible fragmentation. Transformational and peace-oriented diplomacy has become more relevant than ever before. Revitalizing diplomacy and honest, transparent engagements are critical to mitigating these challenges and creating conditions for credible peace, stability, and equitable shared economic prosperity. Diplomacy's role in peace and security and human rights must be underscored by fundamental international norms, values and principles that underpin humanity. And there must be a clear affirmation of the UN as the pinnacle to achieve all these objectives. The G20 can lead in a moment of crisis. The G20 can help address and also buttress and support the work of multilateral system anchored on the UN. The G20 can also ensure that our collective humanity is not abandoned. It can play a role of persuasive force to the various multilateral platforms. Our deliberations can no longer just be for us, but they must enable to influence the world. They must be of persuasive value. Our shared prosperity now more than ever demands collaboration that pursues solutions that address some of the most pressing global challenges confronting humanity and impacting on a global growth and development. We must be able to be that persuasive force that the world is looking for to find solutions in this difficult period. I wish you well in all your deliberations and look forward to read the outcomes that must take the world to the next level of peace and prosperity. Thank you very much.
All right, you've been listening there to International Relations Minister Ronald Lamola speaking at the third G20 Sherpas meeting. This time it's held in the Northwest at Sun City. And in fact, he's touched on a wide range of issues. I'll just highlight three of them for you in the main. He's spoken about this worrisome trend, which has been documented, by the way, by researchers over the decades, about Africa still being a site of extraction. He's spoken about how the extracting of raw minerals is still very much a status quo where value is taken out of the continent, and quoted a book with the line that says, "The blood of Congo is what powers the lives of people around the world." He's also, of course, taken a moment to speak or call for global solidarity, given the conflicts we're seeing in parts of the country, mentioning there that war has no victors, only victims. He's also spoken about how peace In fact, no peace, he says, will organize itself anywhere in the world. It needs the global community. And then also taking some time to speak about the digital economy, saying that the G20 must support the digital transformation. We'll continue listening into that for you, of course, to get you a sense of what's likely to unfold, given, of course, what's at stake. These G20 Sherpas meetings are all in the build-up to the main summit, which is expected in Johannesburg come November.